Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of the MyMuddlings video podcast. My name is Julianne. I'm recording today on the 29th of July 2016, I think it is, and I'm recording here in Adelaide, South Australia, which is where I live, and I'm really excited from the response that I've got for my first podcast. I got some very lovely comments which really made my day. It made me really happy to think that people actually enjoyed what I put out. So I'm a little bit more organised today so hopefully that'll make things a little bit smoother. I actually learned a lot editing that last video, so I'm hoping that I can continuing to improve on the editing side of things. I'm really sorry, I did mention a lot in the last podcast about adding things into the B-roll, so adding photos to come up over my speaking. I couldn't quite figure out how to do that, so hopefully I might be able to try that again, because I do have some photos of the bits and pieces that I'm going to be talking about today that I would probably like to have just over the top, just so you can have a better look at it. So alright, let's get on with things. I thought I might talk a little bit today about me, because if you haven't heard my audio podcast, you probably wouldn't know a lot of my background. So I thought I'd just start with a little bit about me. I'm 33, I'll be 34 this year, and I've lived in Adelaide since I was about, I think, 3 years old, and I was born in Sydney in Australia, and I've also lived in Hobart, which is in Tasmania in Australia. So my mum's originally from Hobart, that's why we went back there. So yes, I've been living here. I am married to a lovely man called Simon. I'll probably talk about him a little bit, because I do have something here that I have done for him. We have a fur baby who is called Granger. He is a German short-haired pointer. He's a very big dog. If you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, why not? My username there is Anne of Julie. You'll see a lot of photos of Granger. He is a bit of a nut. He does some crazy things, so I like to post pictures of him, which are usually pretty funny. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I'm not currently working. I have had some health issues around my mental health, which has unfortunately meant that I do not cope very well in the workplace, in certain workplaces. I've currently started some medication, so I'm feeling a lot better now. So yeah, so that's a bit about me. So that's why I have a lot of time to craft. I find crafting is very helpful in controlling and helping with my recovery, and yeah, so I don't really want to get too much into that. I don't want to be too much of a downer. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm not really sure what else to say, but if you do have any questions or anything that's not too personal that you do want to know about me, feel free to ask on the YouTube video, or head over to Ravelry to the MyMuddlings podcast board. I might start up a thread there so that you can post any questions, and I can respond either in the thread or on the video. So let's get on with that. I've got my show notes in front of me. I actually have show notes today, which is a little bit more organised than I was last time. So we'll start with my handmade wardrobe, and I'm actually wearing, you can kind of just see it, I haven't actually taken any decent photos of this cardigan, so I might do that today, and I'll pop them on, definitely on my Ravelry page, and hopefully I might be able to insert them into the video here. This is the Rust and Stone cardigan, and this is by Milia Uemon. I think I've said that right. I'm sorry if I butchered it. And this is knit from Knit Picks Stroll Tonal in the Raven colourway. So it's a lot of There's little bits of sort of a rusty red and purple and blue and black and grey, and it's really, really pretty. So this is one of my favourite cardigans actually, but like I said last time, I have been getting a bit cold having open fronts of my cardigans here, because we're here in winter in Australia. Today's actually not bad. Yesterday was very cold, today is not too bad. We had some lovely weather last week actually, so it sort of felt a little bit like a spring already, but it's gotten cold and a little bit wet again this week. So yes, I like wearing this one. It's quite a long one. It's got longer fronts. The pattern actually has ruffles on the bottom of the front of it, because it's like almost, it's not really a waterfall, but it's a small sort of waterfall front, and you're supposed to have ruffles, and I left the ruffles out. They weren't really, not really me. I'm not into the frou-frou, but I just basically knit it because the ruffles get created in the neckband on the bottom, so I didn't put those in. But probably the only thing about this pattern that I dislike is that you can see the sleeves are very long. I did knit them. I do prefer longer sleeves, but these are a little bit overkill, and they're very wide, so I'm actually thinking that I'm going to rip those back and take some of the length out, probably the width of the cuff, I would imagine, and take some of that fullness out, because it would make it a lot easier to use my hands by having the shorter and more fitted sleeves. So yeah, I really, really like this one. It's a very ingenious pattern. The way it looks like it's a set-in sleeve. I can't see if you can really see that. It might be a little bit dark, but it looks like it's a set-in sleeve, but it's actually entirely knit in the round. It's really, really interesting. I don't want to give away any of the pattern, any of the secret sauce, but yeah, it's a very, very good pattern, and it's actually the second time I've knit it. I did knit one for my sister as well. She didn't have the waterfall fronts because she didn't want that, so I've made it twice, and I've had it two different types of ways of doing it. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. I really, really like it. Okay, so I might get on to what's off the needles, and I only really have one project that I have finished. I have started a lot of stuff, which I've now stopped doing, and I'm trying to focus on a couple of items, but I'll get to what's off the needles. Last time in the podcast I spoke about the turtleneck crop sleeve sweater that I was knitting the neck of, I believe. It's a little while since that last podcast, so I did record that last month. So I've finished that now. The sleeves are all in. I can't remember whether the sleeves were in last time, but the sleeves are in and the neck is done, and I've actually worn this quite a lot. So you can kind of see that there, and there's the neck. It's a very long neck, but it's very, very cozy. Actually wore this to the chiro the other day, and he said, "Oh, that's very good to keep your neck warm." So yeah, that was good. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and unfortunately, strangely enough, I sort of mimicked the length of my cabled leaf sweater, the one that I was wearing on the last podcast, to make this one as long, but unfortunately I don't know how. It doesn't seem to be as long, because I made sure that I had that 16 inches from the bottom of the underarm to the hem, and yeah, unfortunately it doesn't fit as long as the other one did, and I don't know whether that's because maybe the cabled leaves actually has darts, it's knitted darts, whereas this one I just did some waist shaping to kind of just bring it in a little bit and give myself some shape. So yeah, that's probably the only downside, is it's not quite as long as what I was hoping for. But that's not a big deal. I mean, it keeps me nice and warm, and I'm actually pretty proud of all of the cables, because I don't usually do a lot of cables, because I don't have a problem with cables. Like I don't find them hard, but I do have, you know, sometimes you look at people's cables and they're just perfect and all the stitches are the same size and they just look really neat, whereas I get that really stretched stitch, which I'm not keen on, so that's kind of why I don't do a lot of cables. But I am quite pleased with this. I haven't blocked it yet. I've been wearing it, but I haven't blocked it because being winter, it is taking me a long time to get things dry, especially things like wool that absorb a lot of water. Yeah, so I haven't blocked it yet, so I don't know whether potentially the cables may look a bit better once it is blocked. It might even that out a little bit, even out those stitches. That elongated one might not be as bad as what it looks like now, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. I do like the jumper, so those little stretch stitches nobody's going to notice, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so just let me swap my notes over here. Got them right in front of me. On the needles, the first thing I want to talk about is my July socks for the Just One More Row 12 in 16 knit along that they're doing. I think Dana said in the last podcast that there's only 80 some people who are still in there, and one of those is me. I've knit all 6 pairs so far, and I'm now probably 3/4 of the way through my 7th pair. So these are the Bellflower Socks, and they're by Very Busy Monkey, who is Stephanie, and I'm knitting these for my eldest sister, and she has just had her birthday on the 21st, so obviously she's not getting them in time for her birthday, but I figure better late than never, especially if it's a handmade gift, huh? So I have done one. Here it is on the sock blocker. So as you can see, a bit of fluff. God, I need a vacuum again. So as you can see, it's like this bellflower kind of pattern. Let's see, it looks pretty good. And yeah, they just look like little flowers. So, and it has a star toe, which I have never done before. I don't know if you can quite see those pearl ridges there that creates like this, I guess it's almost like a spiral star-shaped toe is what it's called. So the July prompt for the socks was to knit something lacy, so as you can see, they're quite lacy. And I'm just knitting these out of just some yarn I got from Spotlight, which is a local chain craft store that we have here, sort of like your Americans, Joann's or Michael's, that kind of thing, where they have a bunch of lots of different things. We don't have a lot of yarn stores like LYS's here in Australia. We have a few online, but not many that are around. So this is just some, it's called Bella Baby, and it's superwash merino 4-ply. So there's the ball there, I got it on special. And it's quite, I don't think I would buy it again. It's not particularly nice to work with. It's very, it's not even really that tightly spun, but it's still a very firm yarn. It doesn't have a lot of, I mean, it has give and stretch to it, but it's very firm. But I mean, really, it's probably perfect for socks because it is quite firm. So I assume it would be quite hard wearing. So there we are. I'm already onto the foot of the second one, and seeing it's what, the 29th I think today, or the 28th. I've only got until the 31st to get these done. So I've got, I think, probably another 2 or 3 pattern repeats before I can start the toe. So that won't take very long. That's what I've been concentrating on, is trying to get these done before the end of the month, so I can stay in the running for the year-long prize. So, and the second thing that I am working on is actually from my handspun. It's probably one of the first projects that I've really done with my hand spun. I mean, I did knit a Zuzu's petals for my mum for Mother's Day from my hand spun that I'd also hand dyed the fibre of. But this is the Port Moody shawl, and this is by Sarah Hedges. It's probably going to be hard to see because it's a very long shawl. It's got double increases on each end, so it does get long quite quickly, and I'm only using it on I think a 32-inch circular, and I'm just trying to figure out which side's which. So this is the front. So I've got 3 different colours of my hand spun here, and this hand spun is fibre from Hilltop Cloud, and that's from her Harith collection. And I've got 3 colours here. This one is the Valleys, which is like a black with, you can probably see there's some like white flecks through there. I didn't actually get the fibre content. I think it's a bit of merino, some Shetland, some Soya silk in there, I think. But I'll put it all in the show notes, and you can have a look there. So yeah, that's the Valleys, which is the black with the white of the fleck of like the silk, I think it is, and then Blue Lagoon, which is this one. So it actually looks a little bit tealy. I think the colour's pretty well right on the screen. And the next one is Denorwick. I don't know if that's right. It's probably some sort of Welsh word. So that is it's kind of it almost looks a bit like a navy, but it's more like a black looking one, and it's got some of the blue from the Blue Lagoon in the fibre. So it's kind of a little got that little bluey greeny kind of look to it. And so this is a very textured shawl, which I thought would be really nice with the hand spun. So there's a lot of garter stitch in there, and then there's some stockinette and reverse stockinette, and then there's a diamond pattern there in the garter, and then I've gotten down, oh yes, this last part that I've been working on, some seed stitch and some garter stitch. So yeah, I really enjoy texture in my knitting. Just lost some stitches. So yeah, I do like a lot of textured stitches in my knitting. I prefer to have something to do rather than just stockinette. So this I'm knitting on some 4.5mm needles, and my yarn is sort of, it's a fingering to a sport. There's thinner patches and thicker patches. I mean, it's hand spun, it's not going to be completely consistent. So it's working out pretty well. I think the gauge is quite nice. I mean, you can kind of see it's not too airy, but it's going to be nice and drapey, I think. And it's a relatively loosely spun 2-ply. So if you can see that there, and the loosely plied, well, not loosely plied, but lightly plied yarn will work best for lace, because it helps the yarn overs to really open up. So there we go. And the pattern actually does call for a sport yarn, so it's sort of a heavy fingering to a sport weight hand spun. So. And I've actually done some crochet this week. Being a sock knitter, I have a lot of sock yarn scraps, and I know everyone's doing the memory blanket, the mitered squares, and I've started 2 of them. And my fingering weight one I actually started again. I've got a worsted weight and a fingering weight, and the fingering weight one I actually started again because I was finding that the squares were coming out really small, and I wanted some bigger squares like I've seen other people have on their blankets. So I actually increased my needle size and restarted, but I can't get into the mitered squares. I just can't. And I find them boring, and it's just, I mean, I was doing the type with where you pick up the squares and just knit them off the rest, like rather than seaming them, but so it's not that hard really, but they're just not doing it for me. So and I've got a lot of scraps now, which are beginning to, I've got a little tin, biscuit tin that I was given. It's a Wind in the Willows one. It's about, you know, this big, and that is chockers full of leftovers. And so I thought, well, I've got to do something with these because they're beginning to take over my life. So I have started doing little hexagons. So I saw this initially on Susan Claudino's Instagram account, and she's no Knit Sherlock, and she designs all sorts of knitted toys. They're really, really cute. You should go check them out if you haven't. So yeah, so she's been doing a hexie blanket. So I've done a few of these. I was kind of fed up knitting the other night, and I was getting tired, and I thought, what's easy that I can do? So I actually started crocheting first. Like, I've been crocheting since I was a teenager, so it's a bit of second nature. So I've been making these up, and the edge is the same as my Bellflower Socks yarn. So that's the leftovers of the first sock, and then these two are fairly similar. So I've done all of those, and I mean, they take less than 10 minutes probably. They don't take very long. So these are all fingering weight scraps, and I'm crocheting these on a 3.5mm hook. So I haven't started joining any of them yet, because I thought, well, I'll wait until I have a lot of them, and then I can kind of rearrange where I want the colours and that kind of thing. And probably the borders are all going to be different solid scraps that I have, and I'll have the variegateds in the centres of the rounds. So yes, that's a bit of crochet today. So I've got some spinning today, and some of these are from what I unboxed in the last episode, the Kathy's Fibres order that I got. So I've got 3 different skeins here. I think one of them, there's only one that I didn't get in that packet that you wouldn't have seen last time. So I'll start with the first one that I spun, which is this one, and that's the stained glass colourway. And I spun this in a chain ply, like a Navajo ply, where you can keep all the colours together, as you can see there. And this skein, it's approximately a worsted to Aran weight yarn, and I got 129 grams out of the 100-gram braid that I had. So there's that one. I mean, when I spin, I try and spin, especially when I've only got 100 grams of each colour, I try and spin as thin as I can so that I can get as most yardage as I can. And as a chain ply is kind of like a 3-ply, obviously you're gonna, whatever you get on your bobbins is going to be divided by 3. So yes, that one was 129 yards on that skein. My washing machine has just stopped. I really hope you can't hear the beeping because it goes forever. I apologise if you can hear it, but I'm just going to keep going. And the second one is this. This was the red flowering gum. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me plying that up, because I actually spun this on my Ashford Traveller spinning wheel, because it spins really nice and fine, and it's got an onboard lazy Kate, just some spikes that you could put the bobbins on, and then I plied it off onto my Ashford Traditional. So this is a 2-ply. See if you can see there, and I spun this fractally, which means I basically split the fibre lengthwise, and in this 2-ply I just split it in half, spun that whole chunk just straight through, and then the other half I split in two so that the colour blocks would be a little bit smaller on that second bobbin, so that it would be more blending through the skein. So I found that I didn't have quite as much blending as I was hoping for. So I think in future I would probably take that second half and maybe split it in 4. Might be better to get it a little bit more, I don't know if blended is the right word, but to just get more of that colour change through with the long colour repeats. So if you're a spinner, you probably know what I mean. I'm not very good. I'm not explaining it very well, I don't think, but that's my red flowering gum. And the last one that I have is, those are both merino braids, 100% merino. And then this one is some Polworth, because I've not actually spun Polworth before, so I thought that I would buy this braid of Polworth. And the colourway is called Morris. And I think this was a limited edition one. I don't think Kathy's going to be making, not on the Polworth, she may dye it onto her regular merino. But this one is a, oh, I forgot to say, the red flowering gum, that I got about a sport weight on that, and I got 319 yards on that one. But this Morris, it's about a worsted weight, and it's a 3-ply fractal spin. So I got 193 yards there, and the way I split this one is I took my braid and I split it into 3, you know, as close to 33 grams as I could for each. The one lot I just spun straight through, so had the long colour repeats. The second one I split in 2, and then the third one I split in 4. So you can get, you know, a fairly good blend of all of the colours through the yarn. So, and I was quite pleased with that. So I thought 193 yards of a worsted's not too bad. So yeah, and all 3 of these I think I'm going to put in my shop. Because they're not really my colours. I mean, I enjoyed spinning them and I enjoyed experiencing the colour as I spun them, but they're not really, I mean, this has got my colours in it, but I'm not a yellow person or an orange person, so it's not really me. And red, I do like red, but I'm not really going to ever wear anything from these, and I have so much yarn to knit people gifts with. I thought maybe I'll pop those in my shop and see if I can sell them. So if you're interested, definitely have a look at my Etsy shop. And lastly today, I thought I'd talk about some dyeing that I did yesterday. My husband has been asking me for gloves, or like fingerless mitts, but actually with the fingers knit in and quite long. So he wants them sort of up to the top knuckle of his finger. So I said to him, well, what colour do you want? And I don't know, you know, typical. So I just ordered some worsted weight yarn from, or 10-ply yarn from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and I just got the cream coloured so that I could dye it. And the other night I said to him, hurry up and pick a colour so that I can dye it and show it on my podcast. So he said that he wanted some black, some purple with some black. So I thought I would do a sort of a tonal mix of black and purple, and the black does turn out a little bit purple in the dyes that I'm using. I'm using Greener Shades dyes. I actually purchased the starter kit from Knit Picks, so that had the 9 little jars of each of their colours. So to make Simon's skein, I used the amethyst purple, just straight amethyst purple. I used straight midnight black, and then I did a combination of 1 to 2 of midnight black to purple, so I had more purple, twice the amount of purple that I did of the black. And I dyed that up, and it actually turned out there was lots of patches where it hadn't picked up the colour, and I did, in the pot, I basically did 1/3 of each mix, so purple black and then the purple black mix, and I noticed that there was some lighter bits, and it was a little bit lighter than I was thinking that he probably wanted, so I did then another over dye in a 0.25% depth of shade of the black, again just to cover up the lighter areas and make it a little bit darker. So this is what I came out with. It's showing up a little bit bluer than what it actually is. It's actually a little bit more red purple than what it's showing up as. So you can kind of see there's some bits of black through there, and I thought perhaps it was a little bit too purple, but he's seen it and he said, no, that's what I wanted. I didn't want it black. He said I wanted it like a black and purple, and just flashes of black, he said. So yeah, he's actually really happy with it, so that's good. So then once I get something off the needles, then I'll be starting his gloves, because he wants sort of longer cuff and longer fingers on his gloves. So I'll be getting onto those probably once the socks and the shawl is off the needles. I'll get started on Simon's mitts, so I'll keep you posted. And the second thing that I dyed yesterday is I was aiming for a speckle dye, and I thought I'd try, because blue and purple are my favourite colours, so I thought I would try to do a sort of a speckled yarn, and it didn't quite turn out how I wanted it to, so I'm going to try again. I've got some more yarn, but this is what I came up with. So you can see there I've got some Coral Reef Aqua in there. There's the Amethyst Purple, same as what was in Simon's yarn, and then there was some River Blue as well. So I was expecting it to spread more when I put it in, so I basically put it in the pot and did 3 spots of purple, like in a Y shape, one in each third. 3 spots of the blue in the opposite kind of like sort of purple blue, and then like opposites, and then I just did some of the aqua around the edges, and then I got some of the black powder and just kind of sprinkled it on the top, just to try and get that speckled look. So it's not quite what I was expecting. I was expecting the colours to spread a little bit more. There's a lot more white in there than I was expecting, and this has been reskeined, so you can see that the yarn is, like, the colours are a little bit more dispersed rather than being in big chunks. So yeah, that wasn't really what I was expecting, so I'm going to try that again hopefully this afternoon, see if I can get something a little bit closer to what I was after, because I thought, well, if I'm going to be making Simon some of these mitts with the fingers on, then I might make myself some, because I do get very, very cold hands in the cold weather, so I can do with having some half finger mitts as well. So but this one, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. It's not how I was expecting. So how when you have something in your mind and then it doesn't turn out quite like what you were expecting, you get a little bit disappointed with it. So I'm not sure what I'll do with this one. I don't know whether I'll keep it, but I think possibly I might stick it in my shop as well, see if someone likes it. So yeah, so that's my adventures in dyeing, and I will usually put photos of things that I'm doing with my dyeing and all that on Instagram, so that's probably where I'm the most active. So if you're interested in following along, definitely go and follow me there on Instagram. So that's pretty much all I've got to talk about today. I'm at nearly 40 minutes, so this is probably going to take forever for me to upload. The last episode took close to 15 hours, I think, for me to upload. We don't have great upload speeds here where I am. Yeah, so, so I'll probably better edit some out anyway. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I am Julianne. Thank you very much for watching, and you can find me on Ravelry at Anne of Julie, so ANNEOFJULIE, and that's the same as my Instagram handle. As I said, I do have my shop on Etsy at mymuddlings.etsy.com. I also have a Facebook page for everything at facebook.com/mymuddlings. And yeah, the show notes can be found on www.mymuddlingspodcast.wordpress.com. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.